Imagine someone asks, what if you tried to hit a baseball pitched at 90% the speed of light? Most people would laugh and say, don't be silly. Randall Munroe says, okay, let's do the math. What if is his collection of answers to questions like that? Questions that sound dumb but lead to surprisingly deep science, hilarious diagrams, and frequent warnings like, everyone would die. He's a former NASA roboticist turned xkcd cartoonist, so he's got the chops to actually calculate stuff. The book is packed with his stick figure drawings that make the explanations clearer and funnier. The format is simple. A question, some setup, a bunch of calculations or simulations, and a conclusion that's either, yep, that works, or more often, nope, and here's why the world ends. A lot of the questions are about extreme physics. Let's look at a few standouts. Take the baseball one I mentioned. A ball at 0.9 C doesn't just go fast. It hits the air molecules and triggers nuclear fusion, creating a plasma explosion that vaporizes the batter, stadium, and a chunk of the city before the pitch even reaches the plate. Relativistic effects mean the ball's mass skyrockets and the whole thing ends in a mushroom cloud. Or, what if everyone in the world jumped at the same time? The Earth barely notices the jump, but when 7 billion people land in Rhode Island, the only place big enough to fit them all, the crowd surge kills billions from crushing and suffocation. Randall points out the real problem isn't physics, it's humans. What if the Earth suddenly stops spinning? Everything not bolted down flies eastward at 1,000 miles per hour. The oceans slosh into a massive tsunami, the day becomes 6 months long, and the planet reshapes itself into a lumpy egg. Surprisingly, some people in deep bunkers or at the poles might survive. Other questions take normal things and make them absurdly extreme. How much would the sea level rise if all the ice on Earth melted? It's not just Antarctica. Randall factors in glaciers, ice caps, and even frozen lakes. The answer? About 70 meters, flooding most coastal cities and turning the world map upside down. What if you drained Lake Superior into Lake Michigan? The water would carve a new Niagara Falls-like cannon, and it would take centuries, and the lakes would re-equalize long before emptying. Could you swim in a pool of lava? No. Your body would vaporize instantly, and even a spacesuit would melt. Lava is too viscous and dense to swim in anyway. He loves scaling up. What if all the world's gold were gathered into one cube? It's surprisingly small, about the size of a football field. Or, how many photos would it take to recreate the entire surface of Earth? Billions, but doable with enough satellites. Some questions get into life sciences and human stuff. What if you tried to hit a baseball as hard as you could? A pro batter's swing breaks the sound barrier, but the bat shatters, and the ball flies maybe 200 meters before gravity wins. How fast could you fall if you jumped off a building? Terminal velocity caps at about 53 meters per second for a skydiver, but you'd hit the ground in seconds. What if you called everyone in your phone contacts at the same time? Your phone melts from the heat of simultaneous calls. There's also, what if we replaced the air with helium? We'd float away, and voices would sound like chipmunks until we suffocated. Or the turkey-human swap question. Eventually, everyone becomes turkey, because humans turn into turkeys faster than vice versa. Sprinkled between main entries are weird and worrying questions from the what if inbox, even sillier ones like, are there more soft things or hard things? Or, what if there was a zombie apocalypse? Randall often says, this wasn't much weirder than the main questions, which tells you how absurd the book gets. He also includes pointers to his blog for updates, since some answers evolve with new reader input or better calculations. The genius of What If is that it shows how taking a silly question seriously can teach you real science. You walk away understanding relativity, fluid dynamics, orbital mechanics, biology at scale, and more, but through questions that stick because they're so ridiculous. A few big lessons. Scale matters. Tiny changes won't get huge when you multiply by billions of people or relativistic speeds. Physics always wins. No matter how creative your idea, reality has rules, and they're strict. Order of magnitude thinking. Randall constantly zooms in and out to show how big or small something really is. Curiosity is powerful. Asking what if, even absurdly, leads to surprising insights. It's a book that makes you laugh, think no way, and then go, oh, that actually makes sense. Perfect if you love science but hate dry textbooks.